values-driven cultures. It loves integral theory, all about contribution, love, and connection, all the stuff that we love as students of coaching. And I'm going to pass you over to Frederick to really rock your world tonight with something that he's quite passionate about and a model that he's really passionate about. So enjoy yourself, Frederick. Enjoy yourself, students. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Enjoy.
Thank you, Darcy. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be a fun adventure because it's something a little bit left field that you're probably not used to receiving. This life balance and awareness model has been created over the last 35 years. It's work in progress. It's always being upgraded and improved, and it's featured in my latest book, The Keys to Happiness and Self-Love, which second edition was launched about 3 weeks ago. So let's get into it, and I'll show you what we have. So here we go. Okay, this is the Life Balance and Awareness model, and it's presented to you by Giants in the Making, which is my coaching organisation. And we've presented this model all over the world. I've just recently come back from 2 months in Europe, and the last one we did was in Geneva. So let's see how we go. Okay, the Life Balance and Awareness model. It's basically made up of 4 main areas, and what it does is it gives you some key elements, and we'll start with the central element first, and I'll explain what it is. The first element is the central guidance and navigational system. This is about people who need some stability and guidance before they even enter into the areas of life. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, survival and sustainability. So this is all around being sustainable and having balance and guidance. So let's have a look at some of the first areas. It's basically to explain how you get balance and awareness, which is based on self-acceptance and self-love. What you'll find, and what I have found, that most of my coaching is around people with low self-acceptance, low self-esteem, and certainly a lack of self-love. Because if you don't have some really healthy self-esteem and self-love, you're pretty much going to find your own coaching difficult and your clients difficult to coach. This is one of the first areas to establish in coaching, that they have a positive self-image, that they can then build upon that with all the things that they feel comfortable to create and do. So to start off with your values and guiding principles, most people are not even aware what their guiding principles are or their values. So what we do in this model is we work out with the people what sort of values are important to them and what sort of guiding principles, so that therefore they can build on those things to start to navigate and steer their life. So the first thing is knowledge. Now, it's not just normal knowledge. This is categorized knowledge that's useful to the person that they can apply in their life. So the second area is attitude, because without the right attitude, they're not going to really apply their knowledge well. So of course the third area is the application. Now, applying knowledge through the lens of attitude is important, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And besides that, with attitude, if you're optimistic, certainly things don't always turn out right for you, and there will be disappointments. But where you look, you go, your navigation. So if you're looking up, you're looking into a more positive possibility. But if you're pessimistic or looking down and your attitude's not right, the knowledge is skewed and the application's not effective. So what creates the balance and awareness and self-love? Well, there's 3 main areas that attach to this model that give you an indication of what steers your life. Now, a lot of you being coaches will be familiar with this, but bear in mind this is presented to an audience and a lot of people who've had no prior coaching experience or exposure. So when a lot of people see this for the first time, they're really knocked over by it and they say, wow, and this is amazing. But for coaches, this is par for the course, but it's laid out in this way so it's simplified, sharp, and been able to be delivered in a short space of time. So they get a lot of bang for their buck, a lot of impact, and a lot of guidance. I use this as a diagnostic model to find out where the pain is in people's lives so I know where to coach, how to coach. So this is like a coaching platform for my organisation. Now, the first thing we talk to you about is your language, your words, your internal self-talk, because this is a directive. Like those who are familiar with neuro-linguistic programming, you're basically setting up your intentions by your self-talking. You're saying what you're going to do and creating a tote, which is trigger, operate, test and exit. What I'm saying there basically is that you think it, you speak it, it pretty much happens. So the other area is your thoughts and your beliefs, whether they be limiting or empowering. So what you believe, which may or may not necessarily be true, is your pseudo-reality. It's what you pretty much invest in. So beliefs are very powerful and very controlling to your life. They either empower you and lift you up and make you function at good levels, or they disempower you and can really pull you down. So there's some areas there to look at when we're coaching in this model. I'm skewing this presentation a little bit because I'm aware my audience is different. So I'm basically going to show you how and why I apply it. I have no problem with other people using my model as long as they acknowledge me, and it's just, I've done this because I have a passion to raise consciousness and awareness. That's what my whole life's about, and this model's been born out of getting people who have no sort of central balance or central guidance system and just knocked around by life into a format where they can understand what works for them and what doesn't, so that they've got some control over the things that happen in their life. And of course the physiology or deeds or activities. So basically if you've got an uplifting positive physiology, the way you act out your language and your beliefs will be a lot different if you've got a very downward or negative physiology. So it's thoughts, words and deeds, and they're a triplicity that makes us what we are and places us where we are. So if we think it, speak it, then do it, then we really need to examine what we're thinking. And this is the central guidance system to evaluate your values, your guiding principles, your aims, or your intentions, fed into a knowledge base of the personal development you've done or the life philosophies that you've either inherited or built up over a period of time. And then, of course, you're looking at the way you are working with what you know and what you don't know. So let's get into it. This is the central guidance navigational system, and from these areas of understanding yourself at a really good level, having a good self-esteem and self-acceptance. And by the way, my coaching programs can run up to 12, 18 months, 2 years. This model can be broken down and really gone into in deep detail, so this is noted. You only have an hour with you tonight, so I'm giving you our introductory level that I do at open seminars that are run for free. So in relation to this, with what I can coach and break down into, some of my clients have run now for 15, 20 and 25 years, because as they've evolved and gone through certain things and overcome certain battles, they've wanted more, they've got hungry. So let's have a look at the first area. The first area that I'm showing you in this particular triangle is the health area. And I put health first because without health, you're not going anywhere. If you want the other things that this model presents, without health, you're not going to do them, because when you're not healthy, you don't get into your life in the way you should, and you're restricted from being optimistic and positive. So what are the elements of health that are the most important? Well, the first area is your breath. Breathing is the highest health strategy that you can think of, because if you're not breathing, you put glad wrap over your mouth, you're dead in 4 minutes. You know, you may not eat well, you may not exercise, but it can be rest assured, and you could live quite a few years, but rest assured, no breathing and you're dead. And I'll come back to the breath. The next area is diet and water, and what we go into is in the areas of diet and water is that if you're drinking good quality water, and you're having, say, 1 or 2 glasses at the morning when you wake up, 1 or 2 glasses at night before you go to bed, depends if you want to get up in the middle of the night or not, you're setting yourself up to be heart attack resistant, you're hydrating your body, you're going to clear be more clear in your thinking and your brain will be more oxygenated. So water improves performance, weight loss, body condition. It works on your blood purification, and the thing is you can drink water anytime 24/7 because there's no digestion function attached to water. And seeing 98% of your body's made up with water, it's important to look at it. What I recommend is get a good quality water filter at home. Bottled water, it's a bit iffy. You don't know what you're really getting or how long it's been there or how affected it is by UV or the plastic bottles that's transferred in. The plastic bottles, refilling them doesn't work. The BPA plastic situation and the toxins once the plastic cracks. A good water bottle would be either stainless steel or glass, depending on what you can handle, afford and use. And the whole water strategy is an area where we can spend up to a day on all the water strategies that you can use to improve your health. Some people actually treat illnesses with just water. There's different water. There's Kangen water, there's ionized water, there's different purified water, there's water that goes through so many different processes to create a healthy water. So it's something worth looking into, and if any of you want to find out more, you can contact me after the webinar and I can start to steer you to websites and give you more information. Now with the diet, I basically work the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule means 80% is Spartan, and I have a strong diet regime, but 20% flexibility so that I'm human and I don't break my regime, which means because I have that allowance, if I've gone to someone's place and they've served me something up that I don't usually have, but it's within a window of acceptability, I'll eat it, I'll smile and I'll enjoy it. The sort of things that I don't have, and by the way, I'm not preaching that you have my diet. I'm telling you what I do, because if you check my website, which is frederickkrasey.com, you will find that for 62 I'm travelling pretty damn well. You know, I'm in good condition. I went to Machu Picchu last year and I was one of the only people who could do all the climbs because I could handle the altitude and my fitness was there. But what I don't eat is I don't eat any ham, pork or bacon because basically I don't find that meat conducive with my life. I'm 80% a vegetarian. I have a little bit of chicken and a little bit of fish, as long as it's free range or good, healthy deep sea fish, to try and stay away from the mercury. But where I have choice, I'm basically full-on vegetarian. I'm not vegan. I have eggs. I am not taking dairy, or bread products don't work for me. I'm sure if I had a seam wheat bread or good quality bread, I can have it occasionally, but bread is like a lolly to me. It's a treat. I stay away from a lot of the grains that don't work for me, and I am body aware. So through instinctive nutrition, I work out what works for my body and what doesn't. I'm not into alcohol or cigarettes. I know that people say a bit of wine and that's good for you, but so's other drinks with antioxidants such as grape juice, currant juice, all the rest of it. The reason is that alcohol, there's nothing good in it. It's up to you if you have alcohol, as long as you don't wreck yourself. I choose not to have alcohol. And with not having the red meat, without the sugar and salt, I'll have Himalayan rock salt. Now here's the thing. With diet and water, a lot of people are going to the gym to try and lose weight. The silly part is, if you have a breathing strategy, which I'll explain more about, and you have a diet water strategy, your requirement in the gym or exercise realm is a hell of a lot less. So breathing aids your diet and water and your digestion, and then the third area is structured exercise. And what do I mean by structured exercise? Well, pretty much that if someone is really obese and overweight and they can't exercise, then it's a simple matter of walking around the block. Because walking for elderly people or people obese does amazing things for them. It just sets everything in the body in motion. There's a lot more you can do if you're real keen and you're an exercise freak, but if not, just a walk around the block can make a lot of difference. Now what I'd like to say is the following. You can eat McDonald's pretty much all your life and get to 35 plus if you're lucky, or you can be in a wheelchair and not exercise. But if you've not got some sort of breathing strategy, you're in trouble, because what happens is with a proper breathing exercise, it stimulates your lymphatic node system. And by the way, so does bouncing on one of those little rebounders, the tiny trampolines, 5 minutes a day. So what I do for the health triangle when I talk about these three areas, I analyse the person's needs. So if somebody puts their hand up and wants to work on the health area, we go right into it. What are they doing? What are they not doing? And if they've got a pretty good health regime, they want to go to a higher level, I refer them to personal trainers that are world-class, adept in taking people to the highest levels of health they want to go. If people are struggling with health issues and they need some simple strategies, I work with them one-to-one and we work those strategies out so they can do it. So if you have these things in motion, once you have a breathing strategy, and I'll explain what it is. There's a breathing exercise that you can do, yogic breathing, cyclic breathing. There's a whole lot of different breathing exercises, but the simplest one for somebody who doesn't have a breathing strategy, because if you don't have a breathing strategy, you actually don't have a health strategy. It's simply breathing in through your nose, standing in a straight position with your tail tucked in and your thighs lifted up like a yoga position with parallel feet, and it's looking straight ahead with your shoulders raised but not put back. Basically you breathe in and you force your stomach out. It's called diaphragm breathing, and that way you expel all the toxins when you breathe in and when you breathe out, because you're filling your lungs, because most people are shallow breathers, and shallow breathing is associated a lot with depression and anxiety. So when you're breathing in, you breathe in through your nose and you breathe into a ratio. So you breathe into a ratio of 1 out to 1 to 42. You breathe in for 1, out for 4, and you hold it for 4 and you're out for 2. That's right. Breathe in for 1, hold it for 4, out for 2. So if I took it to the extreme where I've built myself up to, I breathe in for 5 seconds, I take the in-breath, I hold it for 20 seconds, and then I breathe out for 10 seconds. And when I breathe out, I pull my stomach in towards my backbone to expel all the air, because a lot of people are carrying around heavy metals, toxins, really bad air in their lungs, and they're not oxygenating their blood or purifying their blood or stimulating their brain. So this breath strategy is very important. The other thing is, if you start drinking a reasonable amount of water, and I'm not meaning to you saturated, but just enough water that you may need, then the situation puts you in the best circumstance for your health, because you've got water in your body. And drink when you're thirsty. A lot of times people think they're hungry. They're not. They're actually thirsty. Now with your diet, if you're eating good, raw, healthy foods that are not cooked a lot, not processed, not meats from the deli, I'm not talking about treats, but in Australia we take treats to an extreme where we make them a staple or a habit. So once you have that, your breath feeds your diet, and your diet feeds your structured exercise, which doesn't need to be as heavy or as intense if it's just purely maintaining a level of health and fitness. I'm not talking about if you want to be a gymnast or go to higher levels, then different strategies are employed. So that's what supports your structured exercise, and that actually helps if you have a good posture for your well-being, and anaerobic and aerobic exercise. So these are things that, as an introduction to an overview for a good health strategy. Now, moving on from here, I'd like to talk about coming back to the life balance and awareness model. Now that you're healthy, you can look at what is important, because you have balance, you have awareness, you're in control of your life, you've made some structured decisions about that. So now we move forward to the next area, wealth. Why have I got wealth early in the program and the next model? Because in the Western society, and pretty much any society, because wealth can mean different things to people. To us it means money, but to third world countries it might mean cows, pigs, whatever. But without wealth, you're not in a position to contribute, which is one of 6 human needs. We need to be loved and connected, we need to contribute, we need to have variety and consistency, we need to do learning and growth, all those sort of things. But the thing is, without wealth, we can't open doors for ourselves, our partners, our children, loved ones, and because I have a reasonable amount of wealth that's come to me via just life, through working. I was born to poor parents that didn't have any money to give me, so I basically worked hard and had a good work ethic. But what it's enabled me to do is send my 2 children to exchange in Japan, and a lot of travel for me overseas to see my clients, which I funded a lot of the part of that. Besides getting paid, I've contributed a lot to that. And it's given me a lot of opportunity to run big businesses. I've run sheet metal and light engineering, fabrication, security companies with 30 people working for me. So I've had a good life. I've been very wealthy twice and broke twice, so I'm not ashamed to admit it. So here's the wealth triangle. Let's talk about it. What brings money into your life? It's all the inputs: your occupation, your job, your career, your life calling. Anything that brings wealth into your life, all forms of income, it comes. Now here's the secret that a lot of people don't understand at the wealthy. The first thing is saving strategy. As I said before in the health triangle, if you don't have a breathing strategy, you don't have a health strategy. If you don't have a saving strategy, you don't have a wealth strategy. The 2 times that I had financial crisis in my life, because I saved, I was able to go through those crises without devastation and without bankruptcy. I just got to the end and was able to pay things out and move on. Now, I explain this. Every single rich person has a saving strategy, because if it's all spending, there's nothing to invest. So your saving is like what's important for a strategy. You won't make money off the actual savings. It has to be invested. But what savings will do is it will always give you a backstop or a fallback position. For example, for some people on the dole or whatever they can't afford to save, they can afford $1 a week. It's not the amount, it's the strategy. And what it is, it's like a ring pass knot, like nautical terms. When the knot goes through the ring, it won't come back out again, and that saves the ship drifting off out to sea. And when your money goes into this special purpose saving account, which is for your future and for your investing, it won't come out. Now, I can spend up to a week on this, but I'm just giving you a really quick, powerful overview of the wealth strategy, because savings are used for special purpose investments. If you get a speeding ticket or a parking fine, you don't go to your savings account and pay it. Or if you want to go out and buy that new suit or that DVD or whatever, you don't go to this account. This is a specially designated account which has no cost but has reasonable interest for the purpose of generating wealth. This is for people who want to get beyond survival into thrival so that they can support their family and others. Now, if we have a look at this, when you earn income from any area, even if it's a windfall, you pay yourself first into the savings account, so you have it come out electronically, be it $10, $20, $30, $40 a week, whatever it is to build your wealth. For some people, it all depends on your walk in life. Some people are putting thousands in, but you know they're on like 200, 300,000. But for some people who are on 500, 600 or work at Bunnings or something like that, all they can afford is $25, $30 a week. They're stretched. But the habit means at the end of the year at $50 a week, they've got a nest egg of $2.5 grand. And that nest egg can be leveraged into investments, and I'll show you how that works. So with investing, you get a return on investing, and you notice on the left-hand side of this triangle, it's showing the word living. Now what the problem is most people are running their lifestyle on the left-hand side when they should be running their lifestyle on the right-hand side. And I'm bringing in some of the notices so you can see what I mean. Now, if lifestyle is lived on the left-hand side, you're never going to have any savings. But if your living expenses are on the left-hand side, in other words, you get paid, you pay your bills, you save, then your saving becomes like a stored energy or a battery, and it runs into the investing, which is like an amplifier. And from the investing, the amplification gives a return, and that can then go into lifestyle. And because it goes into lifestyle, it can go back into your occupation, your job, your business, your career, your life calling, or you can take a trip, or you can do both or all of the above, and your living can improve, but so can your savings. So this is why the arrows point in an anti-clockwise direction. The whole idea is lifestyle comes after living, saving, and investing, because when you don't touch your savings, don't interfere with your investments, The surplus funds are on top of what you earn anyway. That's lifestyle, and that's how the rich and famous do it. They don't go spending their living money on lifestyle. They don't spend their saving money on lifestyle, and they don't wreck their investments on lifestyle. They do it out of ROI. So a lot of people who are on 150, 200 grand, I'm counselling and coaching them in this model because they can't work out why after 10 years of working for 150 grand a year they're broke. Well, especially in the area of real estate. There are so many real estate agents that are not using this model. They've got a heavy-duty lifestyle and no savings. They're getting big money, and then all of a sudden the conveyor belt ends, the market dries up, and they're devastated. They lose their homes, they lose their marriages, all sorts of things. So this is about a bulletproof life that you can continue no matter what happens. And I have had some serious challenges in my life. I've had health challenges. I've had 2 marriages, and I've survived them all because of this strategy. And in relation to do this, my family, my second marriage, no one suffered. The kids didn't suffer financially. The ex didn't suffer financially. We're still good friends, and she's got to retain a home, and I'm okay. I didn't need to put any financial pressure on her. I was in a position to look after her and myself because I had these strategies in place. Now, again, I'm happy to go into this in a lot more detail, but the overview is 3 things. You must have income. If you don't have income, you're dead in the water, even if it's the dole or gifts or whatever. If you add value to life, it'll add value to you. But the saving strategy is where your energy is stored. And your energy, you can save and then spend. That just reverses the arrow back into living, and then you've got nothing in return. Or you can use the savings, and by the way, don't save all your wages. Save some, spend some, keep some, and send some. In other words, enough to contribute. You know, just say the 4 areas. You've got to have some savings, you've got to have some spending, you've got to have some keeping, and you've got to have some giving. So you create jars or accounts. I've got about 5 accounts for different purposes. But, you know, if I'm short of money, I don't attack the saving. I might attack an account where I had hoped to buy something, and I might sabotage that and go and do it. I'm being very real and transparent here, but I will never, ever, ever touch the saving, because this wheel keeps me alive for everything. And it means having the money or the wealth that if things get thin for me, I can still buy all my nutrition. I can still do all my exercise. I can still run my life and have a roof over my head and do what I need to do. And I say that because life goes up and down. I've been very wealthy, extremely rich, and I've been very challenged and extremely poor. It's changed. I've never been poor, by the way. I've just been challenged. There's basically 6 areas. The first area is poverty. And poverty basically means I've got no money and I don't know how to get any. So that's poor. Broke is different. I've never been poor, but I have been broke a couple of times. Broke is I don't have any money, but I do know how to get some. And then there's, of course, mediocre, or I get by. Yes, just spin my wheels. I've got a little bit of disposable income, not much, but I'm not going anywhere or achieving anything or contributing. I'm just got the straw up through the water and I survive, and I have a few small luxuries. Then there's rich. I have the money, I've got all the money I want, but I've got no time. Sad, but that's what happens with a lot of rich people. You know, they're so devoted to their money and the retention of it and growing it, they don't have a life. Then there's wealthy, which people think is the highest level. Well, with wealthy, you've got the money and you've got the time. And I thought that's where it was at for me, but I've gone to a new level, which I'll explain in a minute. Because wealthy basically means my investments and my job works, and I've got money, I've got a bit of time, and I can do what I want. But you always got to protect it, nurture it, and you're concerned about your wealth equal. That concern's always going on in the background. So the final level, which is something that I've aspired to, is prosperity. Because prosperity simply means I can do what I want, when I want, any amount of times I want, with whomever I want, how I want. The only caveat or precursor on that is that as long as I don't violate other people's rights and values, and as long as I don't deplete anybody, because that's congruent with my values of raising consciousness and awareness. So there you have the wealth side of the model, and I'll just continue back to here. So you can see here, from having a healthy self-acceptance and having health, you can now show up at work in a good state to do what you do well and be of value. Because one of the major things that employers get concerned about is whether their employers are present. You know, people have a lot of stickies, absenteeism, they're not present because they've got all these concerns and worries. But if you have your self-balance and awareness and your health and your wealth, you're pretty much on track. Which leads me now to the next area. And I've got through most of the model pretty quickly, and I've cut a few things short because I want to leave time open for discussion and to see if there's any questions that are raised about this, and see where it might take us all, that we can learn something new. Because every time I deliver this, I learn something new. The presentation is pretty much canned. I've done it so many times, but each time I do introduce something new or find a new element in it. So finally, having those areas under control, the last area is your happiness. Because what's the use of having all those things if you're not happy? And I can tell you this here and now, to be happy, you do require a stable, sound mind. And a sound mind comes from self-love and self-awareness. And it requires meditation and contemplation. It requires a lot of work in some cases just to get to that place of peace. When I was growing up, I asked my father so many times, what do you want for your birthday? I was only a kid, you know, what do you want for your birthday? You always used to say nothing. And I'd say, well, come on, I'm going to give you something, Dad. And he'd say, just give me peace. Well, until the stresses and challenges of life hit me, I didn't really understand what he was saying, but now I understand that anybody over the age of 40 is still hoping that peace will arrive on the doorstep. And I can assure you, you get these areas in check, and certainly you will have peace, the peace that passes all understanding, in my opinion. So what is it about these things? You will not be wealthy if you're not healthy, because wealth is not just money. It's an expression of life, all aspects of life, and health is important. And if you're not sleeping well, and if your mind isn't at rest for certain parts of the day, you won't have the energy to put into your wealth strategies. So what about happiness? Well, let's have a look. This is the happiness model. Self-knowledge and attitude. You really need to know yourself. You know, to know yourself is so important. It's in Sun Tzu's Art of War that to know your enemy is one thing, but to know yourself is far more important. Because this way you know what your limitations are. Your ego's in check. And by the way, I'm not into killing off the ego. It's coming for the ride. As long as it stays in the passenger seat and allows me to steer, I don't think we'll hit too many walls. But occasionally it does grab the wheel, and that's when I hit the wall. So understanding yourself and having the right attitude is very powerful for happiness, because a lot of people are not happy because they just don't realise they can make a decision to be happy. For myself, I suffered clinical depression for 10 years. And then one day I was reading the founding forefathers of America, and I read this line by Abraham Lincoln, and it basically said, most people are about as happy as they make their mind up to be. And I thought, oh my gosh, you mean it's a decision? Well, from that point, I had a revelation that changed my life. I'd suffered really bad depression over my first marriage breakup and losing the first business. It was a security company. I had about 30 people working for me. It was quite large. It was the largest privately owned security company in Victoria, possibly Australia at the time. It was back in those days. So having the understanding that depression was something that didn't have to be there, I walked into the lounge room after this revelation. I said to my then wife, you know, I think the days of depression are over. This would be like 15, 20 years ago now. I said, I think that I might get upset, a little peed off, tad angst, a little melancholy, but I'll never get depressed again. And she'd seen me in some stages go into a room, pull a doona over my head and just sit there, you know, lie there in the bed in the middle of the day because I couldn't handle things. And true to the word, I never got depressed ever again. I've had enough challenges and stresses in business and in relationship and everything else that life throws at you in health that I could have easily gone back there. But I learned where the switch was, and I switched it off, and I gaffer taped it so it can never be switched back on again. And depression is something I don't do, or I don't go there. So having the self-knowledge and attitude really helps, because then what happens is I have emotional, spiritual, mental and physical balance and awareness. And what I do is I bring that to my family. And here's the thing. My daughter recently, she's 18, she looked at me and my ex, because we spent a bit of time together, me and ex, and she said, "You guys are weird. You're more, you get on better than most married couples." And I said, well, the reason is we both know who we are and that we got complete, and inside of that, understanding that we got complete, we've got no angst with each other. We're both good people, and there's no reason why we have to not do that. So when I was explaining this model to my then wife, she looked at it and she said, "Why are we last? You've got us down here." And I said, well, I had you first. I had you right up the top, where health was. And sure, you got everything you needed, and I was sort of giving you the princess treatment, but I was not well. We weren't very financially well off. I was not in a good place mentally and emotionally. You weren't happy, and you couldn't go shopping. But the moment I really got selfish and focused on my own life as a priority, and I put me at the centre, I immediately got healthy very quickly. I then went and got wealthy, and you were able to go shopping. She goes, "Oh my God, leave it exactly as it is. I love it." Because she got to see that the changes she noticed in me were quite powerful, and that has kept us all in good stead, because I'm still very much connected with my children, with her, as a friend, and in all that support. Because I have the balance, I'm not coming as a burden, I'm coming as an asset to my family. And here's the thing, others. Where I got it wrong in the beginning is previously I was putting others first. I've been a helper and a giver my whole life, to the point where it affected me because I gave the shirt off my back, or helped to the extent of near expulsion of myself, my health and that impacted my family, and they weren't happy. But when I turned this round, and I made sure that my mental, emotional, spiritual and physical state was in control, and then I had the wealth aspect, so there was no bill pressure, I was able to come to my family peacefully and be present to their conversations, be present to their needs. So what eventually happened is my family were actually really happy when I went out to serve others, and I went with their blessing rather than, "You're not home," or "Where are you?" or "Why did you give them that money?" What's happened is their needs are met. I've been able to produce more than I need. So when I go out and help others, this is what's happened. I've now built an international network. My Facebook grows at about anywhere between 30 and 50 a week without me soliciting it. My LinkedIn's gone through the roof. My YouTube video on integral theory now has got 15,000 plus hits. And I have a strong social media presence, but I also have a good clientele internationally. Last year I went to India for 6 weeks, Europe for 6 weeks, and South America for 2.5 weeks. I was gone for 3.5 months. And on that tour, I think my social media jumped by about 300 or 400 people. I left a trail on Facebook of all that. And this year I went just to Europe. I went to 19 cities, 10 countries in 2 months. And I picked up quite a few new clients. And the seminar we did in Geneva, I didn't know I was doing that seminar until a couple of days before. Just the same with this webinar tonight. This just came to me of its own volition. I've been invited by the Coaching Institute due to a connection I had there with Matt Levars. And it's a wonderful thing when business and opportunity comes and chases you rather than the other way around. So having a good family impacts others, because when I bring people home or I talk to other people about my family or they meet my family, then they get the congruency. Is this man's talk lining up? Does he say all these things to us or treat us this way and abuse his family? So when they meet my family and they speak very reverently of me, including my ex-wife, it's a really good support for others to have hope to know that their lives can come well together as well. So this serving others actually really increases my own self-knowledge and attitude. I learn so much from others. Sometimes I feel that I should be paying them because, you know, cathartically, all the people in the health industry are really also helping themselves. So through 35 years of coaching, counselling, training, consulting, when someone says to me, oh, you wouldn't understand, and I say, try me. I said, I believe after all these years, not only haven't I not heard all the stories, I've been through some of them myself. I do understand, and I have a compassion. I come from a very strong heart space. So basically, being versed in integral theory, spiral dynamics, NLP, viable systems model, half a dozen other models and strategies. I've been studying for many years, probably 2,000 books, but like Carl Jung says, learn all your techniques, formulas, strategies, but when you get face-to-face with the client, forget them all. So basically I go into an intuitive level with people and I listen. That's my major strategy, is listening. So let's have a look at the model as a summary. You can see here, looking at the model in its completion, that from a central understanding, this is where you make the decisions of what your priorities are and your values are. If you don't value health, you won't have it. If you don't value wealth, and I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about a wealth mindset that includes money. Money is just like water, it's crystallized energy. If you've got aversions to money, get over it, because it's just an essential part of your life. You will not be able to buy milk and bread without it. You will not be able to educate your kids. It's not about greed. It's not about getting more than your fair share. It's simply, if you have the skills and capacity to get more, then you have the skills and capacity to give more. It's simple as that, and live more. So I really advocate you to have a look at the main elements of this, and as a diagnostic, I say to somebody, where's the most pain coming from you? And some will say relationships, either with their partner or their parents or somebody else. So we go to the happiness model and we look at relationships. It could be their health. They may need some serious intervention, some professional help. In the area of mental health, if I get somebody who's struggling with what I call pathologies, I refer them to a clinical psychologist. I don't take that stuff on myself. I have worked with people who are at risk mentally and emotionally, and I have found it very beneficial to be hooked up to a really good, strong network of professionals, which I have. And now, recently, that I've got some really good personal trainer people and health people that they eat, sleep, and drink the health thing. Sorry, the health thing. They do it better than I am. With wealth strategies, I'm finding professional organisations out there that can move them into property. I have a lot of property affiliations with property investments. Inner city properties that are a no-brainer. You get your depreciation, your stamp duty saving, you don't pay for 12 months. It's in an inner city suburb, 15k for the city. You don't pay for 12 months until it's built, and you've got no problem with tenancies or maintenance. They're no-brainers, they're blue-chip things. The risky stuff I don't go near. It's not get rich, it's long-term strategy. But basically, I'm a strategist in the area of wealth, and I talk to people about wealth strategies. In the area of health, I have enough background in personal health to steer people in the right direction and get them the right information. Even to the level where I'm working with the professionals who eat, sleep and drink it, I know what they're saying, they know what I'm saying, and we're congruent. In the happiness stuff, I've done relationship counselling for 35 years at least, and in that psychological, emotional counselling, and as a business consultant, all these areas come into play when I'm dealing with CEOs or staff members. So here you have it. Well, I'm just looking, we're right on 15 minutes to go. I've got through a little bit early, a little bit rushed, I spoke a bit fast, but I wanted you to get the whole impact and then have the next 15 minutes to clean up so that we can see what we want to talk about and if there's any questions. So I've talked non-stop. Thank you for listening. I open it up to you. Has anybody got some questions? Hello. Okay, no questions. All right. The only thing I can say from here is if you are interested in having a look at my book, The Keys to Happiness and Self-Love, you can find it by going to the website www.fkchealth.com, and there you can purchase the ebook for $7.95, and the hard copies come off the press tomorrow morning, so if anyone wants a hard copy and contacts me direct, they're able for that. Okay, it looks like I've got typed one, so okay. Hello, Stephanie. I can see the messages here. I'm getting used to this platform. So I'm replying. Saying that.
Hey, Frederick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to check out how this works.
That's all good. Excellent webinar. The idea would be obviously that you would read out their questions so that everyone can hear it, because only they can't see the questions coming through. So read out the question so that everyone can hear it, and then obviously answer the question for value for everyone.
Okay. Now, where do I find those? Because it says questions.
That's all good. You'll have a question box there. That's it. And I can see students have been posting in their questions.
Because it's saying question 41, but I'm only seeing in that little box four inputs.
That's all right. So bring it out. So if you can like expand the question box, there's a little arrow and allowing you to expand it if you'd like.
Ah, there we go.
There you go. You've rocked it. Enjoy.
Okay. All right, I'm going to run through these questions quite quick. Helen, thank you for tonight. I'm recording. We'll listen in later. Stephanie, hello. Tracy, hi. Darcy, hi. I've lost audio. Shelby Kennedy.
Hey, once more, it's all good, Frederick. I would scroll right down to the bottom because there's all your questions about at the end of the webinar. The students have asked some brilliant questions down there. Can
one start this model at 62 and make a success of it? Oh my gosh, absolutely. Will I type it or just speak it?
You will speak it so everyone can hear.
Yeah, okay. The question I'll work backwards for Michael. Sorry, for Maureen, I think. Can you start at 62? I'm 62 and I've had to start again at 58 when my marriage fell over 5 years ago. So, look, of course you can start any time. Every time I stray from this model, I have to go back to it and it works, you know. And sometimes you do. You get complacent with life and you think you can wing it, you know this stuff. Let's stick to the knitting stuff. You can start at any age to move forward, even when you're 90. My dad's 94. He's in the top 10 swimmers of the world. He's number 4 and he's international record holder. He's got over 350 swimming medals and he started at 45 swimming. So you can do whatever you like. Do you take the clients through the model sequence or target specific aspects generally? It depends, Michael. I take people through the model when necessary, or if they're specific and they know what their needs are. This model is useful for, I take it into corporations, sporting clubs, long-term unemployed, vocational cert. So it's delivered in a lot of different contexts, but it's not the only coaching platform I have. So yeah, that'll give you an idea. I just both. I have to put something in the type box so it actually registers I've done it. How do you really identify what a client needs to work on? Very simple. I ask them. And I pose the possibilities. So what I'm saying there is, they said, how do you really identify what area a client needs to work on? The most identification comes from where is the most pain coming from. Somebody usually might have a whole lot of areas they want to work on, but when you really dig down and you ask them, it'll come down to basically where the most pain's coming from, what's preventing them getting to all the other areas that are important to them. So that's what I would say. What really denotes what's important is what's happened, you know, where they're at with their challenge. What's the average time frame it takes most clients to reach prosperity? Well, that depends on their skill sets. It depends. This might sound crazy, but someone can get to it in a day if they just have an epiphany. So it's really for you to do. One is making a decision, setting an intention. I'm not into goals, I'm into intentions. Because with intentions, you fall to it like dropping a rock in a pond. You get there. With goals, there's time frames. You might make it. It might be unreasonably set. But if you want to be prosperous, then decide to be prosperous now, act as if in the as-if frame, and start to live prosperity, and things show up. So everything's at a level. It depends. And if you really wanted a time frame and you wanted to talk about it, I would ask what vehicles and mechanisms are you using, what strategies you're employing. So that would come down to a consultation to answer that question properly. But yeah, it depends. Next one. Thank you, Ross. Yep, he's enjoyed my webinar and I enjoyed delivering it. That's great. I'll just say thank you back. I'm getting through these quite quickly now. That's good. Great to know I'm not too old. Absolutely, Maureen. No one's too old. I mean, my dad at 94 still kicking goals. He was swimming competitively at 91, and he was in a movie, Next of Kin, and he also has been featured in the paper with Dawn Fraser, and he was set for the Olympics when he was 18 or 19. The war came along and blew it all out of the window, and he never got there. So, you know, you can start again at any stage in your life. So that's what's happening there. Now, who's this one? Libby Mitchell. Can you read the question and reply for us all, please? Yes. What is the question? Can you read the question and reply for us all, please? Okay, I think that's what she's asked me to do. I'll say yep. Thanks, Libby. What conversations do you have on holiday to engage clients internationally? Part of my secret strategy for getting clients internationally, Zelda, is I have been doing it for so long. A lot of my clients overseas started off from here. They were Australian clients, and then they went overseas, and they were overseas clients. So they were existing clients that were overseas. Then when I set up my coaching tour to go visit them in different countries, through social media I promoted on my coaching page and on Facebook. I've been a prolific poster on Facebook, and some of my posts, I wouldn't say that any of them have ever gone viral, but some of them have got at least 100, 120 likes, and they get circulated around. And through that I've got calls in the middle of the night from overseas, from all over the world, asking me questions. I've developed that relationship. Now, what conversations do I have on holiday to engage clients? Basically, I just get totally present to people. I'm always interested in their story. And then after I've really listened to their story and they felt listened to, they felt valued, they felt appreciated, and they happen to ask what I do, I simply tell them what they do, and they may or may not ask me for a card. I'm never pushy, I don't have to be, and out of that 6 months, 12 months, I've got a client. One particular lady met me at an airport. We both missed our planes in Heathrow. We talked all night, jumped on Facebook. It wasn't until about 6, 8 months later she was in Japan. She went through some difficulties, contacted me, and that's developed into a really good friendship and coaching client. And she met me at London this year when I went to Europe, and took me out for dinner. So it was all good. So that's the conversations is be open, be conversational, and be very present to what other people want, and don't push what you want, and they'll find out what you do. And because you're nice and you're not sort of all over them like a rash trying to get a client, they will trust you and they'll come to you in their need. And if you give, like with palm down sort of attitude, in other words, give without expectation in return, they can't help but reciprocate at some stage, so it works out well. Just talk. I'm just typing something into the send privately message on everybody so that everybody gets something. So I'm just going to... Next one. Some people couldn't hear me, which is a real tragedy. I don't think that was my end, I think it was theirs. They're saying the sound cut in and out, but I presume that would be because their connections might have been low. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This is from Ross. Can you explain what you mean when you say you're not healthy? When you're not healthy, you can't be positive. Okay, you can manifest a reasonable amount of positivity when you're not healthy, but niggling at the back of your mind, it's relative. If you're really unhealthy, you're going to be concerned about it. You can attempt to be positive, but if you can do something about your health and you don't, and you just suffer it, pretty much it's going to affect your state of mind, because healthy comes down to endorphins, comes down to sleep, it comes down to gut biology, all those sort of things. So that's a whole conversation which I'm happy to open up at some stage when we've got time. But I'm just basically saying that a healthy, positive outlook, healthy can be mentally and emotional. So it's not just physical. Okay, I'm jumping around a bit so everybody gets time to get heard. Wow, Tracy, she just did the breathing strategy and she feels better already. Great. What's an e-account? Okay, that's Kim. It's where you go to the bank and you ask for an online e-account. You just go to your bank and set it up. There's no costs associated. You can't physically take money out of it or put it in. You have to go from your main account and do it electronically. So E is an electronic account. You transfer money to it. The beauty about that is it's not easily accessible. So that's what an e-account is. It's an electronic account, and all banks have it now, and it's quite a good service for saving. I missed the level between poverty and getting by. Well, basically, there is no level between poverty and getting by. That's living. You know, once you've got a job, you get by. You know, you live a life of not mediocrity, but you know, you might be getting by very well. But the next step up from that, of course, is being rich. And of course, with all scales, there's degrees and minor gradations. So the levels between them can be all various, depends on the person's circumstance in life. But that was an overview, quick one. Thank you, Karen, for your nice compliment there. Fantastic presentation, great, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. The model from Michelle, thank you. Can someone start this at 62? We covered that, yes you can. Thank you for your vulnerability. Great, thank you, Stephanie. Great information. I'm just seeing if there's any questions that everyone else Thank you for your time and energy. I absolutely loved it. This was really cool. Need to hear that. No questions right now. What areas are the highest level of pain typically for your clients? Oh my gosh, Catherine, they're varied. People come from, some of them it's all of the above, but basically it starts with awareness, because if you're aware, awareness is partially curative. So once you can define a problem, you're well on the way to solving it. So a lot of people say, my life's not working, and I say, what specifically is it about your life that's not working? And they say, I don't know. And the old NLP phrase, but if you did know, what would it be? Well, I use different languaging now, so I'm more covert. I'll say to them, well, where do you feel pain? Do you feel it in your body or do you feel it in your mind? Then they have to answer this very direct question. And I say, oh, it's in my head. And they say, is it a thought pain or is it a physical pain? And I say, it's a thought pain. What's the thought? Oh, it's this. Got it. And therefore, I'm able to find out where the pains come from, and it's connected with something in their life. So it varies. Varies, send privately. I'm trying to get through them all. Came in a bit late, enjoyed what I heard. Yep, liked my website, thanks Jade. I'm finding many children experiencing anxiety lately. How do you get them to breathe like you say? Okay, with kids it's very simple. Notice they can cry 1 minute, laugh the next, break the state. Get them to look up and get them moving. If they're in a lounge chair, they're going to be shallow breathing, bad physiology, and that's where depression and anxiety happen. But if kids are moving and they're looking up, the smile has to come on their face, and then get them involved in activity. There's more to it than that, but for the time I have, I'll just say looking up and get moving. Let's face it, if you're looking up, the whole panoramic view is open to you. You've got a whole vista, 180 degrees or whatever it is you can see. But if you're looking down, you're possibly going to walk into a parked car. It's not good looking down. Enjoyed your model. Thanks for 25 years. I'm trying to put it in the book. Yep. Well done, Libby and Karina. Love this model. Thank you. There's so much to absorb. No questions. That's okay. I'll send you an invite via LinkedIn if that's okay. Thanks. Thanks very much from Jade. Darcy, I don't think Frederick can see our questions. I can now, of course. Good stuff. Thank you. We could all be muted. Thank you for sharing. Much appreciated, Isa. Hi, quick question. What do you do for increased energy? Great question. Means mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. I don't take rubbish into my mind. I'm very careful what I allow into all the peripherals, into my ears, into my eyes, into my skin. I have very high energy, and what I learned to do is I learned to channel that energy into good projects, into people I love, and not waste it. You know, there's a whole area where people don't understand in their sexual energy how they waste that, and it just goes into the ground. You know, if you can govern all your energy circuits, you'll have increased energy. If you deplete your energy circuits through ignorance, you will suffer. So live healthy. Yeah, I think I've got about 5 left to go. Please, internet details of your ebook again. I'll type it here so everyone can see it, I think. www.keyselflove.com. Anybody who wants the address of my book, just ask me here, or you can contact me through my website to ask any questions, or the book's on offer on the website anyway, so there you go. What was the third level of wealth after poverty and broke? Was rich. That was from Michelle Croner. These details of this whole seminar are really strongly outlined in Chapter 2. What I did after doing the seminar in September, just before I left overseas, is I went into a recording studio. I sat down and did the whole thing live in the studio. I then sent it off to be transcribed. Then I edited it, added, subtracted, perfected it, and put it into Chapter 2 in my second edition, which is available online. So this whole seminar, every word of it, which is more intense than what you've got here, is in the book in chapter 2, so you can find it there. Thank you, Zelda. Thank you. What source would you recommend for more information on breathing? Oh my gosh, just Google it. There's so much on breathing. There's an app called BreatheMate, which will go onto iPhones. It's free. It's a really great app, and it teaches you the cyclic breathing. 10 of those in the morning, 10 of those at night, just deep breaths. For those breath strategies, like just 10 breaths. Takes you about, I don't know, 15 minutes or whatever. Depends how many seconds, what ratio. I started off with 2, 8 and 4, then I went 3, 12 and 6, and then I went, I don't know, 4, 16 and 8, and then I went 5, 20 and 10. Obviously, the longer the breaths and the holding of the breaths, the longer the session takes. But what I found is doing it in the morning and at night, I use this app and it counts for you so you don't lose the plot and you know when it's finished. It's called BreatheMate, B-R-E-A-T-H-E, M-A-T-E, one word. And you get it from Play Store for Apple. And for Android, it's Peaceful Breathing Light. You'll find that. And that requires a little bit of setting up, but it's pretty cool. What was the book you mentioned earlier from Colin? Let's put it here. fkchealth.com. Keys to happiness and self-love. There you go. Send. Would love another conversation with you. Anybody who wants to converse to me, well, you're welcome. Just contact me through my media stuff, and on Facebook's a great place to grab me because I monitor that pretty heavily. Now, I just checked today when we've gone 2,000 plus just on my personal page. I'd say collectively with Facebook now, with my professional pages and Facebook, I've probably got 3,500, 4,000 people on there. So. And I do talk to everybody who contacts me. I'm a little bit obsessed that way because that's my marketing tool. Happy to talk. I've just realised here, book details. I can send it to all of you. I'm going to send it to everybody. Keys to self-love, happiness, self-love. Send to all. Thank you, Michelle. Starts with awareness. Like that. Yep, does start with awareness. Well, everybody has really given me really good positive feedback and encouragement. Hope I got to you all and I left no one out. Thank you immensely. That's it from me. Back to you, Darcy. And I really wish you well on your journey with the Coaching Guild. I think it's an amazing, great thing that you guys are introducing standards into an industry that's not properly yet governed. And as we all know, in all industries, there are cowboys and mavericks out there, so it's great that there's quality control. And I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to hook it up. For those that got no sound or couldn't connect, I'm really sorry, but I'm also able to get you access to this webinar through the Coaching Institute anyway, because I believe it's been recorded. So there you go, and thank you. Are you there, Darcy? Hello?